Nintendo and Tencent have joined forces in an attempt to bring the Switch to China, and the pair are making significant headway. As reported by Reuters, Chinese tech giant Tencent recently received approval from regulator in the southern province of Guangdong to distribute the Switch and a test version of the Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe in the country. The Chinese video game market is currently the largest and most lucrative in the world, making this a big victory for both companies. According to people familiar with the matter, the Guangdong approval will eventually lead to the Switch being sold nationwide, although no time frame for the rollout was given. Launching the Nintendo Switch in China is a massive opportunity for both Nintendo and Tencent, said news analyst Guti Onye, explaining the significance of the news to Reuters. What sets Nintendo apart from competitors like Sony and Microsoft is that its intellectual property roster, including Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon, is already extremely popular in the market. What's more, the mobile aspect of the Switch is a great fit for China's mobile-first culture. Nintendo's new partner Tencent was one of the companies affected by China's recent licensing freeze, which saw the new State Administration of Press and Publication hold approvals on any attempt to hold out games that did not abide by the government's values. The freeze prevented companies big and small from launching their games in China, and created a massive approvals backlog that regulators have only recently begun to wade through. Fortunately for Tencent, test versions of games like the Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe can be distributed without a license, meaning it can effectively skip the queue for now. Ever since the release of Bastion of 2011, players and game developers alike have paid close attention to Supergiant's projects, thanks to SDO's unique sense of style and ability to execute on its game concepts. During the Game Awards in December, Supergiant announced and immediately launched an early access roguelike title first available on the new Epic Game Store. Right after launch, Hades creative director Greg Kasabin talked to us about the business and design decisions behind Hades over on the GD Twitch channel. Below are a few key highlights from the conversation that may help you evaluate both the state of the Epic Game Store and whether making an early access game is right for you. Edited for length and clarity. We have been really happy with how early access has been going so far. Thankfully, even given the early access nature of the game, the INITILTMECHNICAL challenges were pretty minimal, so everybody was, for the most part, able to get into the game and start playing. The response we have been getting, we are really happy with. I will never take for granted having a group of our players actually like the stuff that we work on. I will never take that for granted. So every time we launch a game and our players say, "Hey, this is cool. Thank you for making this," I wipe the sweat off my brow, and I breathe a sigh of relief. That response has been really encouraging. As for why early access, we conceived of that aspect of this game as part of the whole package, right from the start. It was a high priority when thinking about what to make next after our last game, Pyre, came out last year. We were really interested in a game that we could develop out in the open, once it reached a certain point, and make it the best game it could be by gathering feedback along the way by building it in partnership with the community. For us, it opened up so many possibilities, not just from a game design perspective, but also even from a narrative perspective. From my standpoint as the writer on our games, being able to work on a game whose story could unfold a little bit more serially, instead having to put the entire thing in beginning, middle, and end, right in that initial launch. That was a new experience. So we think of the early access launch almost as a sort of pilot episode of a series, or something like that, where it's a lot of setup, you meet a lot of the characters, and you figure out what the conflict is all about. But the resolution of the story is not all in the game yet, and we will roll out new characters and more events in the story over the course of the early access period, along with just improving every other aspect of the game with any up. Yeah, so a lot of it does tie back to the early access nature of the game, and that being like really key to the whole design from our perspective. So that meant that if we were going to develop this game out in the open for a while, and we'd expect early access to last far more than a year on this game from our initial launch, we need to be able to move on it really quickly. So we made sure that we were not going to launch early access on a whole bunch of different platforms at the same time. That would basically make it closed or impossible for us to update the game in a timely fashion. Our team size is fewer than 20 people. Maybe there are some teams out there who are really effective at patching games on many different platforms all the same time, but that is not a skill set that we possess as a small team. We felt that it was vital to be able to focus on a single version of the game until we get the game to a really good state, and then during that process, we can start to look at other platforms toward an eventual multi-platform around launch. So that's very much our plan. So as we were working on Hades, we got in touch with the folks at Epic, and started to learn about what they were working on with their store, and we became really excited for it. It just seemed like a really good fit, given the experiment we were making on the experiment they were making. One of the factors with Hades is that we want this game to be highly enjoyable to watch as well as to play. It's a game designed around immediacy and replayability among other factors, and you get in there and hopefully start having fun with it. Have a unique experience each time, and have the action be very readable if a friend is next to you, if you are streaming it, or something like that. Part of Epic's focus with the store is to help enable streamers and YouTube content creators to essentially get a piece of the action. You have seen the Fortnite eSupporter Creator Program, where creators basically just get compensated for their work. I think streamers and YouTube content creators have had such a significant and overall beneficial influence on games over the years that it's really only fair that they should be able to benefit more from the incredibly hard work that they do. So on a personal level, that spoke to me. I think it spoke to other folks I work with, just as part of the priorities that Epic was interested in. But anyway, that's all stuff they can probably speak to better than I can. But those are just some of the reasons why it made sense for us to go conduct our early access experiment off to the side. Because folks on other platforms who are familiar with our games are used to our games being 100% complete. We have said in the past that we really value the completeness of our games. So folks on other platforms one day will get the kind of experience that they are used to from us, and on the same timeline as we have delivered our games in the past. Transistor and Pyre both took us about 3 years to make. We expect that Hades will be done on roughly that same timeline. So we figured if that's the experience you are accustomed to and the experience you want to have, nothing has changed. You will get to play our completed game. Hopefully we'll very many places we can support and make sense of once we are out of early access. But for now it made sense to us to run early access on the Epic Game Store. I am one of the people who helps formulate the ideas that we then pursue, and one of the things I look for as the highest priority is what is the overlap of preoccupations on the team. What do the most people here want to make the most passionately? And that's the game we should make. So we started having, very soon after Pyre launched, like within a month, we started having many hours of conversations, and some themes started to emerge from that. One of the ideas I already spoke to was wanting to develop a concept that we could continue to build on after it was out there. A game idea that was extensible, and not just a one-and-done game similar to our last 3 games. So that was a high priority for us, and we were very intrigued by a design around replayability, kind of a, for lack of a better term, like a more modern design sensibility than maybe some of our previous games that have a more linear campaign structure. You finish them. Hopefully they will stick with you forever on an emotional level. But they are not necessarily games designed to be replayed many times.